saying, have you ever noticed that once you see something clearly, you can't respond the same way you used to? Maybe the conversation feels different. Maybe your reaction didn't change. Maybe you simply pause instead of reacting now, collective. Sometimes awareness doesn't change what you notice, it changes how you respond too. Welcome back, Divine Collective, to my channel, Oracle Rose Healing Tarot. So glad that you guys are here today. Now, sometimes the biggest shift in awareness isn't what you notice in a situation, it's how that awareness changes your response. Now, I've been coming in with these readings because I'm telling you, with this gossip tarot out here, all we know about is what the other person is doing, what they're feeling, what they're thinking about you, what they're doing with other people, who they're paying to get into your energy. How about you, collective? How about you? Because it's moments like this that often mark a deeper stage of emotional growth. Okay, instead of just listening to all that gossip, what you gonna use and how you gonna use it? Instead of reacting to it automatically, come on. You can choose to respond with intention. Now that shift can change how some of your conversations are unfolding. I'm just gonna tell you, and how your boundaries are communicated too, because you might have to put up some swords. I'm just gonna let you know, and how you protect your peace, because that's what it's all about, because that's what we're healing to, that's what the journey is. But today's messages are going to tell you what happens when awareness begins influencing how you move through your interactions with everybody. Okay, now, before we begin, take a moment to like the video, okay? I'm so glad I'm getting some subscribers. I'm getting some traction. I know this is a slow thing, and I know this is a new form of tarot. Not everybody is, trying to hear advice or, trying to hear anything that might help them until they're in that moment. But you know what? I'm going to keep on trucking. So liking this video is going to help this message reach people, more people, help my channel grow so more viewers can benefit from these conversations, collective. Now, if you enjoy these messages, they're reflective like this. Subscribe and share, okay? And share them with someone who values awareness and personal growth. I appreciate you. Now, take what resonates and leave the rest for the universe to recycle. All right? So I've been shuffling. This is a new deck, so I had to go through it, but you already know before we get started, we're going to always do a prayer. So I'm going to get my bell ringing out here. So just watch your ears. I don't know how loud it's going to show up. So here we go. Okay. My sound bowl. I give thanks to the Most High Divine Spirit for being here, for surrounding us with healing energy, and for guiding today's messages. And by the grace of the Most High and the Holy Spirit, this space is filled with love, peace, light, and all energies that do not serve our highest good are transmuted into love, healing, and renewing energy. Now let's step into this reading. Whew. All right, I got the cut on the deck. We're going to be talking about, you see what it says, looking again. Now that your awareness is out there, you can't just start having conversations. That some people are still on that old timeline, but you're not, collective. You're not. All right. So right now, I know you've been doing what people are still out here moving crazy and still trying your boundaries, but you are using some of your healing technique, and I know it because I've been using mine. You know what I mean? So we're going to talk about, the moments when you're pausing instead of reacting, how this has been working for you. Now, the card that comes out is going to be talking about how your awareness has been up to interrupting your usual reactions. Okay. So instead of responding immediately, you've been noticing that you have been pausing. Okay. Instead of observing what happened. All right. And what came out was the Emperor in reverse. Okay. Now, this energy tells me right here that you probably still got some automatic responses coming out. Okay. Because if you think about it, the Emperor in reverse is like feeling, some instability. You might even feel like, some of this healing journey thing is not working because you're so used to being in survival mode, or, people dealing with people who are in heavy ego mode. All right. So I could see that this could, come out where you are, having your automatic reactions, and some of your old habits may be still appearing when some emotions get out, people get out in their feelings, and everything rises up. All right. But I'm going to tell you, collective, we're still healing. And that's okay, because the technique to that, you already know, is to just pause. You're just gonna pause. Pausing for a few seconds, because we got to do that. That pause has been life changing for people. Okay, and that's just something that's gonna allow your mind to process what's happening in front of you, the situation, more clearly before you crash. Because sometimes it's the pause that can save you. It's the pause where you can hear your intuition. And remember, we are going on this healing path. We're going more intuitive and spiritual over ego and 3D minded. Okay. Because 3D minded hasn't been working out. It's been causing us pain, and that's why we're healing. 555 on the chimer. Thank you, Spirit. So, that means we're on the road. We're on the road to change. Okay. All right, so let's just talk about it. Let's recognize some of those emotional triggers you still got going on, collective. It's okay, because I'm telling you, the kind of week I had and the people I come around, I had a few people try me, and I'm just like, really, really, Spirit, please tell us where are these emotional triggers coming from? Where are they coming from? And I had two come out, but they're going back in. I can't be it. All right, but one jumped. The devil in reverse. Okay. All right. So in reverse, you might be these, it might be coming in, your triggers might be coming from being enlightened to this process, the process of healing. You know, the devil in reverse it means that you're trying to release, you're trying to recover, you know, and so you might even not even recognize that it's the enlightenment that's causing some of these emotional triggers, because you're probably saying to yourself, I'm the only one around here trying to heal. I'm the only one around here trying to heal. What's that about? And I know that can be hard sometimes. Sometimes your reactions feel sudden because the triggers have not yet been identified too. You know, just when you thought you got over your negative triggers, now that you're more enlightened and more aware, you can't miss it, even if you want to. Even if everybody else is walking around in the matrix, you can't miss it, collective, because now your eyes are open. But it's okay though, because all you got to do is go into the technique called trigger awareness. You know what that means? That means that you notice what the triggers are, the strong ones, what that gives you the strong reactions. Okay. Now noticing those gonna help you respond more thoughtfully in the future. Okay. You got to know what they are, because it's almost like Agent Smith when he used to, use people to catch Neo. He would jump into something, had to trigger them to even notice Neo. Okay, it's similar like that. You got to notice your triggers so that that energy just doesn't jump and take off and get and take a momentum, and you have the peace of mind, and you're still on your healing. Okay, so we're going to talk about shifting towards some intentional responses, okay? And we're going to ask Spirit how that should go. So Spirit Collective is wanting to know how we can get those intentional responses out there, where we're more in control. Perhaps the divine has taken the wheel, but we are co-creating. So once our awareness grows, what should we be doing? Okay, and we had two come out and they're going right back in. So let me just get one, this new deck. All right. And so the Hierophant came out in reverse too. Now, this is getting some. I shuffled these cards and they're coming out in the reverse, and I'm going to accept them the way that they came, because we're looking again. Okay. And usually, when you're talking about the Hierophant, you're talking about, maybe, learning or whatever, but this is in reverse. All right. So you might be collective. What this is telling me is that you might be returning to some reactive habits. Okay. When you look at your intentional responses. Okay. Because you're probably going, why should I heal when everybody else around me is hell bent on staying where they're at? Because your healing is about you. Those people, they're going to perish, but you are taking control of you, collective. All right. So once your awareness grows, your response is going to become more thoughtful and intentional. Instead of crashing out on your emotions, you begin choosing your responses that reflect your values and your priorities, okay? You protect your peace and you protect all that comes with, being in that high vibrational energy. You don't let nobody pull you off your square. I know sometimes stress can temporarily return us to some of those old habits, collective, and we can get those same response patterns coming out. But you got to understand when the trick of the enemy is right there in your face. And you got to remember, no, everything has power, but nothing has spiritual authority over you. You have spiritual authority over yourself. Okay. All right. So let me just tell you the technique is about having intentional responses. Okay. Choose your response, choose it consciously, and change the direction of the conversation. Don't let nobody just lead you down the road of a conversation that you don't want to have, collective. You are in control. You're the healed one. They're the ones out here still wreaking havoc. You know what I mean? And I'm just saying, and once you get that awareness, then you're in control. You're even in control in the situations that stress you. Okay? Now, if these messages are bringing you peace or insight, please like and share the video. Subscribe too, okay? Share with someone who you think will benefit from this reading, okay? Because, like I said, we're probably here because you're probably the only one in the room that's healed at this point. You're the generational curse breaker, collective. You're the chosen one. You know what I mean? If you've come this far, that you've gotten to the point where your intuition is leading you to heal, oh yeah, you definitely have been different from everybody else that you've been around. Okay. And if I'm saying anything that makes any kind of sense to you, I do know how you feel. Okay. And I'm here to let you know you're not by yourself. All right. So let's just keep on going with this because you're looking again on these situations now that your eyes and now that you done shifted your perspective, nothing looks the same. Nothing ever was the same. Okay, so we were observing situations more clearly. You can't unsee your brain, your pineal gland is decalcifying. Collective congratulations. All right, so we're gonna ask Divine, what kind of energy. Oh, and that just jumped out and fell on the floor. Give me a second here. I'm trying to get, and I'm trying not to make sure I move it any. Thank you, collector. Whew. Seven of Cups in reverse. Okay. So now we're talking about you observing the situations more clearly, collective. Because, talking about your awareness increasing. All right. And this Seven of Cups came out in reverse. All right. So basically, what this is telling me that you might have some misinterpretation going on around there. You might be looking at some stuff because you might be second guessing your healing. All right. And you got to make sure that you're not having no spiritual, like, because you're on a spiritual healing path, journey, and everybody else around you not, you cannot use what you learn to try to wake them up. You know what I mean? So you got to be aware of that. You got to have the ability to observe interactions objectively. You got to remember, these people ain't like me. They're not going. Everybody's on a different timeline. So instead of focusing only on the words, you notice the tone, the time, and the emotional context. Okay, you got to do a perspective shift. You gotta know that just because you're waking up and you're healing sooner than someone else, that doesn't mean that they're gonna understand you right away, collective, and that's okay. You know what I mean? It's about viewing situations from multiple perspectives so you can have a better understanding and you can choose what works for you in that moment because you get to create your reality. That's all I'm saying. You get to create your reality. All right. You can choose. All right. So, in speaking of choosing, you can choose being calm over escalation. Let me tell you, the many crash outs that I know in my family, they could benefit from this. But choosing calm over escalation looks like weakness to them. It's not that. We're going to ask Divine what it is. What does choosing calm over escalation look like? Divine. And another one jumped out my hand. This deck is, I love it, but it's jumping out everywhere. And choosing calm over escalation is the Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords. Blind trust, faith, having constraint. And you right. Can't make it up. Spirit said you got to do that. Because responding calmly, collective, can often shift the direction of the whole conversation. Calm responses reduce emotional escalation, and it allows discussions to remain constructive. I remember all the fights that I've had with my family, and it was all emotional. Just a big old ball of emotions all the time, you know? Now, what that card is telling me, collective, right here, you getting some emotional steadiness around you. And your calm presence influences the tone of the interactions. Stay there, okay? You participating in your own rescue. And you making sure that you choosing your peace over being right. Who cares about being right? You know, there's so many people down here who think life is about a debate and separating things into piles and all that. And they'll pull you right into that kind of mind frame. But you get to choose what type of mind frame you want to live from, what perspective, okay? And just know that. All right. So when you choosing those calm responses, collective, just know that when you keep practicing that calm communication reduces that conflict. It's going to promote clarity too. Because all the crash outs around you, going to begin to notice that you don't even flinch. You don't even flex anymore. Nothing they say got you moving. You know why? Because they don't control you. You control yourself. That's why. It's just that simple. I'm just saying collective, but you already knew that. All right. And not only that, they can't get you because they know your boundaries now. So we're gonna ask spirit. You know what I'm saying? About them power of them boundaries. You know what I mean? Now that them boundaries are out there, I'm not letting nothing else jump up off this table no more. And that was two cards. Okay. Power of the boundaries. Okay. Now the next card is about, having awareness around your boundaries and when they might be needed. Okay. I haven't spoken to a family in a long time because I had to put up boundaries. And, my peace is actually better than our relationship. I'm not going to even lie. I miss them. However, I'm not going to go to hell to see them. So the power of your boundaries, it came out of Two of Cups. Okay. Partnerships and harmony, exchange of energy, equal give and take. You're going to have like family and friends. I was just talking about my family and friends. You know what I mean? And what this is telling me is that this Two of Cup collective, you in these healthy boundaries. You communicating your boundaries now. And I know that's working out for you because that's helping to maintain your emotional balance. If everybody else want to be king and queen crash out, that's them. Look again, you on a healing journey. Okay. So collective, pat yourself on the back because you got it going on, because basically you've been doing this. You've been doing this. And I'm so glad you're here, making sure that you are taking care of you. All right. So your emotional maturity in action. And let's ask spirit about that. We're going to ask spirit about your emotional maturity, how that looks, what kind of energy you in. Okay. Because when you're emotionally regulated and mature, that appears when you guide your own behavior and it's not being guided by everybody else. They made me do this. She made me do this. You make me this. Don't nobody make you nothing. Stop it. Okay. I tell people that all the time. I say, because you know what? If I can make you do anything, it'll be on mute right now. They're never on mute. That's how I test it. I can't make you do anything. I can make me do something. Okay. So, and the same for you, collective. Instead of reacting emotionally, your response is going to reflect patience and clarity too. Okay. So, we're going to ask Spirit how we can do that. And Spirit said, just go ahead and page of wands, a page. Okay. And that's okay because, that's about being creative, you know, having an explosive creativity. That's when you guys gotta really jump out there. Look how he looking up at the sky. Like he just wondering about everything. You know what I'm saying? Real optimistic, curious about it. And that's okay. Because what this is telling me is that collective, you are all about this emotional growth. You're all about this emotional growth in this spiritual path, which is great. And your responses are reflecting thoughtful awareness around how you feel and what it's about in your life, okay? And how people are coming in your energy and what kind of energy they're bringing around you. And you're being mindful of that and being good to yourself and making sure you keep out energy that does not work for you, okay? And I'm that's great. That's actually really, really great. So that means you just out here reflectively listening to everything. And that's cool because y'all already know we had learned on our journey that when you reflectively listen, that improves your communication and your understanding. Instead of just listening to respond, you actually listening to the conversation so you can know what's going on to stay clear. Okay? And not to argue or how your your nervous system all going up and down. All right. Now, collective, hey, thank you again for watching. Okay. And liking and subscribing. I need you guys. All right. I would love to be motivated to continue to bring these messages. I have been really into it. I have more coming. It's like a series of things. I tell you, when I get reflective, I go in, people come to me, they ask me for my advice on things. I'm not doing personal readings as of yet, but they want me to help them out in their lives. And I'm just like, here, I'm gonna keep bringing it to you, collective, because I know there's something good for us here. Okay, so share these messages so we can get it out to the others like us who are on the healing part of this. We still want to know what's going on in these spiritual streets, and we still listening to all that other good tarot, all that good information to let us know what these karmics out here doing. But while these karmics out here karmicking, we're out here healing. Okay. All right. And so that next card is about protecting peace. So we're going to be asking Spirit, how can a collective and how can we protect our peace? What kind of energy for Pentacles energy? All right. Protect the resources, huh? Getting to that security. Okay. This is how Spirit is saying, thank you for this card, Spirit. And I'm hearing ancestors say, yeah, protect the truth. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, protecting the peace. This is about having your awareness that helps you decide what situations you should even give your attention to, collective, and which ones you shouldn't. Everything ain't for you. You're not for everybody. And not every interaction requires your emotional investment. You got to remember, every time you give your emotional investment to something outside of you, you're actually taking that energy away from your own manifestation power. Okay, and you just gave it up, and you wonder why all these things happen with like TV and social media and everything, because energy is currency. And you know that. I talk about it all the time. And how these pentacles come out here like this, that's the Spirit letting us know that energy is currency. Okay, so protect your peace. Okay, and you already know the technique is gonna be you know probably an energy protection awareness technique. But you got to remember also too to maintain healthy detachments from people too. Okay, and recognize when it's best to step back. Collective, continue to do that. you know Everybody, I don't care what the relationship is, because when it's your life force, that's what peace is, actually your life force. Because if you can't have peace, everything in your body goes awry. You need peace in the hospital to recover. They stop your family from coming up there when they want. They actually put them on restriction when you trying to recover. Well, you trying to recover now, collective. So you're gonna have to put these people, even some of your closest people, on restriction when it comes to access to your energy. So protect your peace, okay? And when you redirect your focus on preserving you, that's gonna preserve your emotional stability too. Promise, okay? Now, the next thing is the wisdom that you're going to get through this experience. We're going to ask Divine about that. And man, it jumped. Hold on. This deck is a jumper. And what came out was the Six of Pentacles. So the wisdom that you're developing through this experience is all about them pentacles. Now, Six of Pentacles is about, exchanging energy and giving and receiving it, equal give and take. Look how happy the person is on here. I just love the color of these cards. This is like my favorite color anyway. However, looking at this though, this is telling me that each interaction you got going on collective is contributing to the development of your emotional wisdom. Because look at all them pentacles. Energy is currency. And your experiences, you got you out here gradually improving too. All right. Your ability to recognize these patterns, you getting it down. You getting it down. You got to understand, either you're going to be running the patterns with people, or you're going to be recognizing the patterns and then living how you decide. Okay? That's what it's all about. All right? So basically what this is telling me is that your discernment is growing. Energy is currency. All right? And your awareness is getting strong through these experiences too, collective. Are they not? If they are, go ahead and put some stars in the comments for me, because I'm telling you, I can feel the energy right now. Whoever I'm talking to right now, your discernment is growing, and you know it, and I'm happy for you. And mine is too. I've been doing the techniques, the reflection practices, and all of that. Because when I regularly reflect, that helped me identify the patterns, and it strengthened my awareness too. You don't need nobody outside of you trying to tell you what life and reality is. You can see it for yourself, and you can listen to your intuition to help guide you. Okay? So you're going to be living with awareness. So let's ask Spirit, what's that about? What's that energy, Spirit? Living with awareness, okay? What's that energy? And what came out was a Three of Swords in reverse. All right. So this tells me that you're not going to have no confusion and sorrows. Okay? You're going to recognize them. Even though your clarity is still developing, collective, your growth continues as your awareness deepens too. All right? And living with that awareness means that you're going to be still responding thoughtfully. You're going to be maintaining your balance. You're not going to be letting nobody push you off your square. You're not going to be hitting the button. No crashing out. Your understanding is going to grow, and that's going to continue over time. And you're going to give yourself grace. And you're not going to let anybody around you who's not even attempting to heal try to grade you and determine you where you should be on this healing journey. Okay? Because how do they even know? Unless they, getting on the journey themselves. But anybody who's on the healing journey is not going to be concerned about your journey unless they're trying to help you. That's what healing is about. Now, we're going to get some cards from the Intuitive Kev Extra Deck. That's the big deck, that 111 cards. We're just going to get some, I like to get some oracle cards out in the end of doing a read, I do want to give you the technique going out on this spread. It's like, just remember to do your daily centering. That's what it's all about. We are energy conduits. We are receiving the downloads from the divine. We are energy and motion. You must have a daily centering. Okay, centering practices support calm thinking and emotional stability. Okay. All right, so we're going to be getting some cards out the Intuitive Kev deck. I had already shuffled. I'm going to get a cut, see what we can do, see what the cards say. I love the drawings. So we're going to be asking, what should we be looking again at and making sure our awareness stay on point? Let's ask the divine. Let's see if we can get out 2 jumped up and over. Okay. So divine says, them Geminis, look again at them Geminis. Okay, Geminis, I love you. I have Gemini family members. But hey, look again. Watch the communication of the Geminis. That's funny because, this sign is actually about communication. Okay. And we're talking about that. All right. Making sure that, when you walk away, you're clear. All right. And if not, there's probably a game over in reverse. you know Maybe the game is not over because perhaps you can get the person to open up the heel and get them to looking in at what's going on between y'all. You know what I mean? And perhaps forward them some of these Oracle Rose healing videos, healing tarot videos, and see if they're ready to heal with you. Okay, let's ask collective. I'm not collective. Divine. Look at me, about to go stir crazy already. But let's ask Divine for some more scenarios in which we should look again and make sure that we're honing in, especially because we got a lot going on out here. Divine said, watch out for those group associations, cult and covenants in reverse. Okay. So perhaps perhaps you're out somewhere and, it could be religious organizations or whatever. Look again, remember you're a sovereign citizen in whatever you do. You can decide to be a part of whatever organizations or what have you, but by no means by the divine is it required for you to manifest and live the life that you want. Okay. All right. And that's up to you. All right. I'm not here to tell anybody anything. I'm just intuitively reading these cards and trying to give you some information. Okay. To hopefully help you. All right. And some of the other situations where we should be looking again, let's add, this is a big ass deck. Wow. Kev, I love you, but even now, I don't even have small hands. And okay, here we go. So, of course, look again at the demonic, nefarious, diabolical people. Okay, keep your eyes open, collect. Look again. That one came out. We already know we moving around that. This is that unhealed energy that we were talking about earlier. Yep. And yep. And then also too, look again when it comes to your destiny, your fate, your future, your karma. Remember, look again. It's not about what they're doing. It's about what you're doing. Stay in your star energy. Okay. This is for you, collective. All right. Because you're healing and you're doing great. All right. Now, let me tell you, awareness doesn't just change what you notice, it changes how you respond. And sometimes the greatest sign of growth is simply realizing that you no longer react the way you once did. And that's cool. That is a big jump. And collective, that is amazing. So keep blooming, keep glowing. Let your soul remind you you are already enough. You're moving, you're healing, and you're growing. And remember, where you become healing and healing becomes you, you're participating in your own rescue. So until next time, stay in your light. Bye bye.